three goals that you mentioned, Ambassador Karim Khan talked about, no one is betting that these three goals are actually achievable. That is building up a security force, reconciling with the Taliban, and creating a framework in which you create a new political sharing arrangements. None of these these are all aspirational goals. So the question is, what happens now is more interesting than what is being said today.
But the fact is that the number of people claim to be talking to the Taliban. There is direct talks between, the New York Times had a story only on 27th of June that what Ambassador Karim Khan mentioned. The Germans claim that they are
talking. You saw what Gates said after that. These are preliminary contacts. See, everyone is exploring to reach out to the Taliban. Right now, it is quite clear no major figure of the Taliban is actually involved in the talks. So that's why I think we should not assume anything at this stage. There is uncertainty out there. What we do know is Americans are going back. What is more consequential in this whole speech, I think, is two things. One, he's saying, I want a permanent military presence in Afghanistan so that I could hit at, as part of the counter-terrorism strategy, at the targets of terrorists. Second thing is telling Pakistan, if you don't behave, don't expect me to keep quiet, and that I will go after anybody who is trying to kill me. So that is the key. The military base in Afghanistan and the targets in Pakistan fundamentally changes the conflict.
Which is the right time to transit to the next phase of our discussion, which is that reconciliation being in a preliminary phase and an outcome unlikely, a positive outcome unlikely, the transition now from focusing onto Afghanistan is going to shift to Pakistan because there is an implicit threat.
In fact, the Washington media that was briefed by the White House on the speech, those briefers were actually saying, look, as far as we are concerned, the problem in Afghanistan has broadly been brought under control. The problem today is the inability or unwillingness of Pakistan to cooperate on counterterrorism. And that because these sources are sitting in Pakistan, and they're probably aligned with the set of establishment forces there, the challenge for the US, according to the White House briefers, is to find a way of changing Pakistan's behavior. So this is a fundamental...
That's an aspiration.
No, it's not. No, that's what they're trying to see. Until now, from September 17, 2001, the plan was to do something in Afghanistan and you needed Pakistani help. Today, as US forces reduce, the dependence on Pakistan is going to come down. And what they're saying today is, we must sit in Afghanistan, use those bases to attack targets in Pakistan. This is a fundamental change in the nature of the war, the higher direction of the war. This, I think, is the most significant shift coming out of the speech.
So what President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have said is that these sanctuaries that Pakistan is giving to the terrorists, be it LET or the Afghan Taliban, we will not be constrained to hit them. Now, on this counterterrorism strategy that Raja has talked about, this transition from counterinsurgency to counterterrorism obviously will be based on some kind of intelligence as they had for Osama bin Laden, if they are going to get the Afghan Taliban side.
Firstly, I fully agree with what Raja has said. Bruce Riedel has been very, very explicit in this particular facet that the whole tenor of the campaign now becomes Pakistan-centric, with Afghanistan serving as the base. You see, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Are you suggesting, because if Afghanistan is the base, then the operations that can be carried or conducted are by drones?
The bulk of the operations would be by drones, and they would depend on a combination of electronic cum human, and which has been fairly successful so far. The whole strategy here seems to be to go in for command and control attrition. And I think this does work. Even in our operations in Jammu and Kashmir, we have felt that the moment we inflict...
But you are not suggesting that these operations can be independent of the Pakistani. Pakistani cooperation is still very vital.
The Pakistani cooperation is vital, but whether it is going to be forthcoming is now increasingly becoming a question mark. The state of the Pakistan army the Corps Commanders Conference, conclave, immediately after Osama bin Laden's elimination, the Corps Commanders read out the Reuter Act to Kayani, and more or less they told him to go and talk to his officers. He has been on 12 cantonment visits where he has held town hall type meeting with his officers. They were supposed to last 1 hour, they have extended to 3 hours, acrimonious kind of questions. And there are reports that
the question,
willingness.
The question is whether the Pakistan Army is A, capable and B, willing to go into North Waziristan.
The Pakistan Army.
That's precisely what the Americans are asking.
That is the key operational issue now on the table. The Americans are trying to force the Pakistanis to go for North Waziristan. And they have been giving one set of excuses after the other. Initially it was the flood, then it was cold start, and then you see when all that has been tweaked, it is now that, there is a lot of resentment in the armed forces. And if we try that, Kayani may not remain. And there is, after all, when Kayani was given a 3 years extension, 27 lieutenant generals have been left out. And this is the conclave of the Corps Commanders. The importance of this institution has not been understood enough in our discourse. This is the institution that saw the back of Parvez Musharraf. They could well see Kayani out.
But see, the point still remains that the United States, as Raja says, wants to change the behavior of the Pakistan military establishment. Hillary Clinton has said quite clearly yesterday that the ISI is funding the LET, and the kind of statements that were made by her, very candid in the congressional testimony, were extremely revealing. Now, Mr. Garakhan,
may I say a word about that the new thing now is that Afghanistan will now be the base for the Americans to attack terrorist targets in Pakistan. And as Raja and others have said, that this is a fundamental shift, if you like, I think this raises very, very complicated diplomatic, political issues, because will Afghanistan be happy, or will they be ready to permit Americans to use Afghanistan, their territory, as a base to attack a neighboring country repeatedly if it becomes necessary? This is going to be a very delicate question.
And the neighbors.
In fact, what you say is right. Already legal questions and moral questions have been raised about the use of drone attacks. Whether the use of drones into another sovereign country is legal.
And General, you're not suggesting law and morality is going to come in the way of this war. No, I'm not so sure.
But surely that's an issue. That's an issue that is now being brought up, and the Pakistanis will certainly bring this up. I want to come to this last part of our discussion, which is on the regional framework, this regional compact, a regional solution. Dr. Manmohan Singh, when he went to Afghanistan recently, he said he's completely endorses Afghanistan's policy of national reconciliation and a regional solution. Now, what is your idea of this regional compact?
Well, I think it is now accepted by everybody, including many in Pakistan, that what Afghanistan needs more than anything else is an assurance, at the least, from all its neighbors that they will not interfere in Afghanistan's internal affairs, and similarly an assurance from Afghanistan for its neighbors that Afghan soil will not be allowed to be used for intervention or interference in neighboring countries. If Afghanistan wants to become stable, and I think as New York Times editorial put it yesterday, when the Americans leave, they must leave behind a minimally stable Afghanistan, at least some degree of stability. They are not going to achieve this stability by reconciliation, because even if reconciliation succeeds, and which is a big if, it will in all probability lead to civil war situation in Afghanistan. Reconciliation is not going to be accepted by non-Pashtuns so easily. So if you want to avoid a civil war scenario in Afghanistan, then you have to think in terms of what we call regional compact. But we are calling it neutrality.
A lot of the Afghans don't like the word neutrality.
No, that's why we stopped using the word neutrality.
But how are we sure about implementation of non-interference? Because every regional country has a strategic objective. How are you going to fit onto one canvas?
Well, first of all, this is not going to happen overnight. There will be prolonged and protracted negotiation among all the neighboring states of Afghanistan.
But you believe that this is what is now the most acceptable political outcome or a political way to solve the problem?
I'm not saying acceptable. I said this is the solution which is needed, which
I
is
don't
the
think it's
only
needed.
way out to
But the
restore some
transition, the
semblance of
difficulty is
stability.
transition.
But I think what is needed,
No.
it does not necessarily mean it is achievable.
Yeah,
that's the practical.
But the thing is
But,
today,
yeah.
if you see Obama's speech, there's very little reference to regional compact.
Yeah.
He generally says Pakistan should play a reasonable role. I think the whole framework that even 2 years ago or last year was conventional wisdom, today has become, because as they pull back, look, there's no time for all this diplomatic negotiation.
Yeah.
Thing is, beat down Pakistan, achieve something, and leave as soon as you can.
So we are in for a long haul. The last bit I want now, given this situation, given the political uncertainty, given the question that the three vital political ingredients are training of the Afghan security forces, unlikely outcome, reconciliation, no outcome, cooperation from Pakistan, no outcome. What should India be doing in looking ahead into the future and making sure that our national security interests are not compromised? Quick word.
I think
got a last 30 seconds.
The key to the whole success of the military campaign is Afghanization. The capacity of the Afghan armed forces has to be increased, and India should offer to raise, equip, train 2 Afghan divisions, 1 Afghan armored brigade, 1 Afghan artillery brigade, and an army aviation corps.
Ambassador Garakhan.
Well, India should certainly, I suppose, continue to make its offers to the Afghans. So far there has been a veto by Pakistan through Americans on our training the Afghan forces. But I think the Americans have to be a little more understanding that if they want some kind of stability, they must encourage India to play a bigger role.
But you know what the Afghans are saying? Afghans are saying that India is punching far below its weight.
I think India should start talking to the Taliban. India should start talking to the Pashtun leaders if you want to be a player in Afghanistan.
So
we have to talk to all the parties.
And we have to raise our political profile. In fact, some of the Afghans were even saying that we don't get visits from your defense minister. They certainly want something done on measures to make this relationship more natural. That's the word they use. It is easy to intervene or enter a conflict, and who knows this better than the United States, but extremely complex and difficult to exit, as this discussion has revealed. The discussion has also revealed that India must take necessary political, military and diplomatic action so that it is not caught on the wrong foot, just in case the US makes an irresponsible withdrawal from Afghanistan and leaving it unstable. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Till same time, next time, goodbye and namaskar.